out of SmartSuite and all the things you need to be aware of making sure that everything runs like clockwork. So I am going to deal with 7 topics. It might seem a lot, okay? The first 3 topics are about setting parameters. Now, if you don't pay attention to anything other than the first 3, I can guarantee you that you will not have any issues at all with your SmartSuite system. Okay, so we're going to talk about the parameters that you need to set if you're going to be doing anything with patrons. So whether it's running overdues, circulation, adding patrons or whatever, these parameters need to be set. The next thing we're going to be doing is parameters for cataloging. If you're going to do anything with cataloging whatsoever, you need to set those parameters and need to make sure that you understand what those parameters are. And the third set of parameters is SKIS cataloging. If you just pay attention to these, I can guarantee you, you will absolutely enjoy using SmartSuite because it'll just run like clockwork. So let's get stuck into it. We're talking about patron parameters, cataloging parameters, and SKIS. So whenever you talk about parameters, the first thing you need to do is you need to be logged in to the system, and you can see it says sign out, which means I'm already signed in. So if you click on the menu button, here are all your options, okay? And the option that we're particularly interested in is the configuration option, okay? So it's very important that you have that configuration option, and in the configuration option it's the authority files because that's where all our parameters are. So we're going to go to the authority file, and in the authority file we're going to have a look at the class grade and the homeroom. So if you do anything with patrons, you have to have class grade and homeroom set. Now obviously you can see that's audience and it's alphabetical. That's why it's up the top. So if you click there, you can see they're all alphabetical and all your authority files are here. So if ever you want to play around with authority files, remember menu, configuration, authority editor, and that'll come up with audience, and you click there and you go into it. So the very first one is class grade. Click on class grade and there's all your class grades in there. So if you're trying to set up a patron in a particular class grade, so let's say for argument's sake I've got a class grade called P for primary and there is no P. So if you want to add a new one, you go in here and you just put it in. Now quite frankly, I don't like codes. I don't like P and K and SF and TF and TR. You know, if it's a primary, call it primary. So anybody else coming after you, when they look at it, it's something meaningful. Okay, now you can put anything you like in there and go add. So now when you scroll, you can see, oh, I've got a primary. So you can go primary and then you can go temp teacher and then go add. Okay, and now we've got primary and temp teacher. All we've done is we've created a class grade. Now class grades are very, very important because that's where you set the limit for that particular individual class grade. Let's choose year 12s. When I go onto year 12s, clicking the pencil, it tells me what security code they are, what the final borrowing date, the expiry date, how many books they can borrow, how long they can borrow for, if you allow them to renew on the web, how many times they can renew a book, how long they can renew it for, and can they reserve. So you don't want to make that, you know, they can reserve 99 items. So I'm just saying they can only reserve 1 book. Okay, what happens if they try to reserve 2 books? Well, what will happen is it will automatically say you've exceeded your reserve limit. You need to delete one of your reserves. Okay, so that's what that is for. Multiple copies should not be set for anybody. Multiple copies are for staff. So if a staff comes along and takes a box of books out and she's going to take it to the class and redistribute it, she can take multiple copies of the same book. You shouldn't allow multiple copies for your students because if they leave a textbook at home and they borrowed one, they'll just say, yep, they can borrow another one and another one and disadvantage other people. So multiple copies should be off. That's entirely up to you. But if you say that yes, they can have multiple copies, what's going to happen is it will allow them to take more than one copy of a book out. Okay, multiple copies are off. Patron override should also be off for all students. If this was a teacher, let me just close out of here and let me go down to staff. So there's staff. Let's go and have a look at the staff parameters. The staff parameters, they can borrow 200 books and their loan period is 365 days. Okay, they can take multiple copies and the patron override is ticked. What that means is when a staff member comes to borrow a fiction book, if the fiction book is a fortnightly loan, it says no, I've set them for 365 days, so therefore the patron can override the book loan limit. Okay, so patrons have loan limits and books have loan limits, and when we come to looking at the parameters for cataloging, I'll explain the book loan limit. So basically, if I have a look at year 6 patron, oh no, that's not a good one. So let's go back to my year 12. If I'm looking at a year 12 patron, year 12 can borrow 14 books. And if the book is an overnight loan, which is a one-day loan, because it's an expensive book, or it's an iPad, they can borrow it for 1 day. And just because the patron says they can have it for 14 days, it says no, play it safe. If the two of them are different, if the items limit is different to the book, to the patron limit, choose the lowest, not choose the item, choose the lowest. And of course, if the item happens to be 1, then they will automatically get it for 1 day. But if I put a tick in the year 12, then the year 12 can take that 1 day item and have it for 14 days. So that's what that is all about. Okay. Okay, now the next thing we're going to deal with is once you've set your parameters, when you click save, and watch what happens to that little diskette. It'll flash so fast you'll probably miss it. Save, flash, flash, flash. You just have to click save once, and everyone in year 12, so whether you had 2 people in year 12 or you had 1,000 people in year 12, as soon as you hit save, all the year 12s now inherit all these parameters. Okay, so let me explain the security code. Just make it a rule of thumb that if it's a 12, then it's a 12. If it's a 9, that's security is 9. If it's a 8, security is 8. If it's a 1, security is 1. So make sure that the security code corresponds to the class grade. Now the reason for that is if I take a book and I say this book is a security of 9. In other words, you have to be at least a year 9 to be able to borrow it. So when a year 12 comes to borrow it, because it's 12, they'll be able to borrow it. If it was a 9, if it was security 9 and a year 9 borrowed, it's okay. If it was a year 8 student that came to borrow a year 9 security item, the system will say, this book is over their security limit. Do you want to override this? It'll ask you that at circulation time. Okay, just letting you know that this book is year 9 level, and do you really want to loan it to a year 8 or a year 3? And you can just go no, and so that's what that security code is. The same applies for TV for Education. If you put a TV for Education video in there and say this is only for year 10s and above, so then the year 10, which will have a 10 in there, will be able to borrow it. If it was a year 9, they won't be able to watch it. Okay, but a year 10 could watch it. So that's what that's about. Final borrowing date, self-explanatory. When you want all the books back into the library, that's the date you want them back. Expiry date, my recommendation is make the expiry date about 20 years after you decide you're going to retire. So figure out, I'm going to retire in 1940, then make it 2040, make the expiry date 2060. So you never have to worry about it. The only time the expiry date becomes important, the system requires it, that's why you need it there. But the only time it becomes important is if you have year 12s and you know they're not coming back after the 15th of July, you might want to expire them on the 15th of July. What that does is when someone tries to circulate to a year 12 person on the 16th of July, the warning will come up and say, this patron is expired, don't give him any books, you're not likely to see him again. That's what that is all about. Okay, so just hit save and that's all there is to it. So that's how you enter all your class grades. Very straightforward. Okay, now the next thing with patrons, that parameters you need to be aware of is configuration, authority editor, and that is the homeroom. So click here and you can go down to your homeroom. There's your homerooms, and you can put in all your homerooms here. Okay, what other details do you want in the homeroom? Click on that. Nothing. Okay, so it's just a way of classifying your students. You've classified them by year level. It's another way to classify them. So if you want to do reports for overdues or any kind of report on patron grouping, you can do a report on class grade or on the homeroom. And that's all there is to patron parameters. Now, before you catalog, just like before you add a patron, you need to be able to set up your class grade and homeroom. Before you catalog, there are some parameters that you need to set up for your catalog. Exactly the same way. Menu, configuration, authority file editor, okay, alphabetic, remember? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put in all your locations. Okay, now you can add locations on the fly. You can add all these parameters on the fly. My recommendation is come in here and just check it so that at least you can say, you know what, I can catalog anything because all my parameters are set. Or I can circulate to any patron because all my patron parameters are set. So all you do is with cataloging, location. So you go down here and there's locations. Click on locations. And there's all the locations, okay? And if I click on a particular location, you can see you just need to enter the location name and that's it. So if you want to add a location, okay, you can just go and put the location in there. And when you hit enter, it'll add it to the location tab, okay? So location is senior campus or whatever, okay? But you can add it on the fly, okay? Now, the next thing that you need to do is sublocation. Click in here and you go down to sublocation. And that's exactly the same. You can go in and put in a sublocation in here as well if you wanted to. Okay, so sublocation is lib back room, okay, and well, you can't add it here. So if I do need to add a sublocation or a location, this is a new change. Where do you do it? Because as I said, when you put it in here, it's going to be looking in here. The same applies for location. So let me just go into catalog. Let's go into the catalog screen and it's in the copies area and you say the location is lib service area, and when you click enter, it says lib service area is a new location. Are you sure you want to add it? You can go okay and it's added. So you can add the location and the sublocation in the catalog record by clicking on the copies. So when you put the barcode in, you can add it on the fly, exactly the same way as you would add a subject or an author or a series or an editor. So that's how you can do it. You can add it on the fly. So in version 3, they've removed the necessity for you to come into the configuration area, into the authority file editor, and make sure that you have to first go through all your locations, okay, and put them in before you can catalog. You can do it on the fly. So locations can be direct in the catalog, sublocations can be direct in the catalog. The other authority entry before you catalog is the loan type. You cannot do this directly in the catalog, okay? So you can select it off here. So if I go in here and I go and I say, I want to do a term loan, term, okay, and just go add. Now there is my term loan. And just like class grade, once I've added it, I need to click the pencil, and then I need to say a term loan means it's actually 95 days, okay? And you can go ahead and you can say the term loan is 95 days, okay? However, if it's 95 days, you might say, all right, so let's say for argument's sake, I borrow, this is the first term, and I borrow a book, and I'm in the middle of the term, but this is a term loan. So what's going to happen is it's going to calculate 95 days, which is going to take it way over the end of the term. So what I can do to play it safe, I can go in here. Okay, now we're going to say this is not the first term, it's the third term. So the end of the term is the 18th of September. And I'll go now add that to the system. So what it means is if I come on the 15th of September and borrow a book that is a term loan, which is 95 days, it'll calculate 95 days from the 15th of September, and then it'll check, but what's the final date for the term? And it's 18th of September. It'll then cut it back to the 18th of September. Okay, and then just go save. So that's how you set up your parameters for your loan types. Okay, now once you do all your loan types, you then have to do exactly the same for the renewal types. So in renewals, you do exactly the same. So we said locations, you add on the fly in cataloging. Sublocations, you add on the fly in cataloging. Loan types, you do in the Authority 5. Renewal type, you do it in the Authority 5. Okay, now you can go and add other parameters in here, okay, if you wanted to. But so as an example, you might say, I want to be able to add a cost center. You can click in here and you can add a cost center. But you can also add a cost center like you did for the location on the fly, like you did for the subject on the fly. The important thing is that you must put in your loan types and your renewal types to be able to catalog. Okay. All right. 2 more parameters you have to put in as a new user before you can use the system. And that is the SKIS cataloging parameters. These are very, very important. So to do SKIS cataloging parameters, you go into menu, you go to catalog, you go to global catalog. And in the global catalog screen, okay, you need to go down to configuration and not click the configuration, but the up arrow and Z3950 database. When you click on that, SKIS will be up the top. You need to put in your SKIS username and you need to put in your SKIS password, and then you click save or update if it's already in there. Okay, and then once you save or update, you can just close that. And then the second SKIS parameter, apart from the SKIS username and password, is the default spine label that you use. So click on here and then go to default spine labels and you choose from the list that's here. And if your spine label is not on that list, tell us which one it is so we can put it on that list. If you choose a spine label from that list, okay, 12601, and go save, what it means is that when you SKIS catalog, which we'll show you in a minute, you can just hit that print button after you've cataloged 2 books or 10 books or 45 books. When you click print, it'll automatically produce the spine labels for all those books you've just cataloged in the order that they were cataloged. So all you have to do is just stick them on the book, print them out, stick them on the book. That's all there is to it. Okay. Now that we've done all of that, you can't now just go and catalog. You have to go back into the menu, go back into catalog, and now go global catalog. The screen refreshes and you never have to deal with any of those parameters ever again. You can SKIS catalog if you want to, but we'll deal with that later. The next thing we're going to do is show you how to add, change, or delete a record. Now that record could be a patron record. You want to add a new patron, change a patron, or delete a patron. Or you want to add a catalog record, change a catalog record, or delete a catalog record. Very easy. Okay. So the way you do it is menu and then you come down to Patron and Patron Management. The beauty about Patron Management is it's very simple. There it is, okay? And it'll always bring up the record that you have logged in with. But if you want to find a new patron because you want to change it, you just go find and just type in Smith, and it'll bring up all the Smiths, and you just call up whichever Smith you want, okay? Or you can go find, and you can go, instead of Smith, how about John? And it'll bring up all the Johns, okay? Or you can just type in J or JO or JOH or S or SM or SMIT and bring it up, okay? Now, what you need to know about this screen is you've got all these other pieces of information, okay? 99% of the time, you will never use any of them. You'll only use everything on the first page. You'll have a barcode. Well, what is the barcode? I don't have a barcode. It's a new patron. We don't give him a barcode until later when the admin office gives us his admin number, because that's what we use as a barcode. Great. So if you're adding a new patron, just put in any rubbish in there. We really couldn't care less, okay? Because when you go to circulate, you can circulate by putting in this big number, or you can circulate by just entering John or Smith. And if there's more than one John, it'll give you a list and you choose, okay? Now, when you get his admin number, and his admin number is 43215. So that's his admin number. So you can now circulate with that. Okay, remember, you can circulate with a barcode, surname, or first name. Now, when you're adding a new record, we need the barcode. We do not need a username. So we need a first name, a surname. We do not need the email address if you don't want to. Okay. However, if you put the email address in there, you can send him automatically, if you want, an email of his overdues. And that's really, really neat. So I'd encourage you to think about doing that, which means you will never have to ever run an overdue notice, because if the books are overdue, we can automatically send it to him. Okay. Then don't worry about the security, but his class grade. When you put in his class grade, whatever his class grade is, it'll, remember how we set up the security for the class grade? If I made him 6, that security will go 6. If I made him 10, security will go 10. So we need a class grade, we need a homeroom, and a role. So he's a student. Okay. Now, by default, it'll always be student, and change password will always be no. So if you change all these parameters, all you need to do is you just go save, and then you can give him a password, because when he tries to log into the system with that at home, it'll ask him for a password. So just go change password, and you put his password. My recommendation, make it all lowercase password. Validate all lowercase password, go change password. And when you do that, you can say, John, you can go and log in with your email address, and your password is password. Now, see how it says change password on next login? If I turn that on, when John logs in, it'll say, oh, hello, John, you need to give yourself a password. Go and create whatever password you want. And that's it. And that's what it'll do. It'll force them to create their own password. And if they forget, just call his record up, change the password to password, and then click change password on next login, and that's it. And if you did that they can't change password. So if you're a primary school, why not give everyone the password of pass 21 or something simple that they can remember, okay? And everyone has the same password. They just need to know their barcode. And you go, primary kids are not going to remember that. Okay, so let's go to username. How about John full stop Smith? So now I can say, oh, you can log in with your barcode, and if you can't remember your barcode, then log in with your first name and a full stop and then second name. So they can log in 2 ways, okay? And if you're a primary school and you want us to regenerate your usernames from the first name instead of you doing it all manually, send us a ticket and we'll do it for you. It'll all be done in about 2 minutes. He can also log in by the email address. So everyone on the system can log in with their barcode, their username, or their email address, but they have to have a password to log in. Okay. Now, if it was a teacher that you were putting on there, same rules apply, except you will not make him a student because he's not a student. So when you click here, you can say he's a teacher. Now the reason for that is when you create as a teacher, save that record, you can click the email login and it will send him a little email to say, hi John, here's our URL for our library system. Can you please log in and set yourself a password? Okay, I've given you initial password or password. So you can just email that to him, turn that on, okay? And when he logs in, not only will he get the OPAC, but he'll also get TV for Education if you subscribe to TV for Education, okay? And that's all there is to adding a patron, or if you want to add a patron, just go new, blank screen, fill in the blanks. That's it, okay? Now, if you were on the system and you've got a system in here, okay? So there's my Kevin Zorro, and he's no longer there. You want to delete him. Easy. Just click the delete button and that deletes him. All right. If you want to send overdue emails to the parents, then you just got to go to the parent, put in the parent's name and the parent's email address, and we can automatically email the parent. And if you put in first name and second parent, we can email anything that's up to 60 days to the first parent, anything over 60 days to the second parent, or email them both. Okay, and we can do it all automatically for you, where you never ever have to hit an overdue report button ever. That's why it's called SmartSuite. Okay, I've shown you how to add, change, or delete a patron record. Now I'm going to show you how to do exactly the same with a catalog record. So to add, change, or delete a record manually, menu, and then go catalog and catalog. Okay. And just like the patron, we've got all this additional information, okay? But in the patron area, you never used all the other additional texts. But in the cataloging area, you will, because you'll put in a title, then you'll put in an author, then you might put in a subject, then you might put in an illustrator, then you might put in a C. So you fill in whatever you need to fill in, exactly the same as before, and then go save. So once you know how to add, change, or delete a patron record, add, changing, and deleting a catalog record is the same, with one small little difference, and that is you've got an extra tag here called the copy. So when you go to the copy area, that's where the plus sign is, that's where you'll put in your barcode for the copy. You put in the barcode, then you'll go into the status it's available, you'll go into the location, you'll go into the sub-location, you'll go into the loan type, because you've already set up the loan type, so you could go into the loan type, you can go into the renewal type, and you can go save. But you go, yeah, but hang on a second, this particular one, what about the cost? What about the supplier? Not a problem. At the end on the left hand side, expand. So you can click on expand and you can put the cost center, you can put in the supplier, you can put in the price. And by the way, if it's a laptop, why don't you go and click the asset and put in the asset information? And if it's the big photocopier in the corridor and it's been repaired, why don't you go into the maintenance, put in all your maintenance details about it? And you can have as many maintenance records and so forth. What about if this is one of 15 items that go to make up a kit or a box of books? Why not go into kit management and allocate it and allocate this particular individual barcode to a box of books so you can build a kit out of it? Okay, but at the end of the day, it's exactly the same as add, change, or delete a patron. But you go, I don't want it in that order. I would like to have subject after the additional title, then the author, or I want an illustrator after the basic information. So if you want to alter the tags of anything, click on the settings button here, change the order by just clicking that and dragging it to wherever you want to, and then just clicking the save button, and now that's how the order is saved. Simple, and that's all you do to add a particular record. Let me grab this ISBN number, okay, and now let me just go to a record on this screen. So here we go. I've got all these records on here. I open up my catalog and I bought one book, just one book. I don't want to do SKIS cataloging. I just want to add one new record. So you just go new, and you can fill in all the details and then just go save, then go into the copy area, put in the barcode and go save. That's all there is to it. However, let me see if SKIS has this book. So you go into the ISBN number before you start filling anything in, and you zap in the ISBN number of the book with your ISBN reader, and then go to the Wi-Fi icon and click that button. When you click that button, it will check if that ISBN number exists on SKIS, and if it does, it'll say, hey, it exists on SKIS, I brought it down for you. Then you can go and look at any additional titles. Yes, there is. Any authors? Oh, wow. Illustrator, no illustrator, subject. Oh, okay. Notes, and so forth and so on. So once you've got that information, you'll just go into the copy area, zap in the barcode, put in the location, sublocation, and when you go save, what's going to happen is it'll check and say, you forgot the media. So if you forget anything that it must have, it'll tell you. So just go into the media field and put in your media, and then go save, and you've created a record in a fraction of a second. Okay, so that's just one book. So you can say, can I SKIS catalog that way by just going new, zapping in the barcode, hitting that button, then going to the copy, add it in? Yes, you can. But SKIS cataloging is much faster. Okay, and to be able to do SKIS cataloging, you click on here, you click on catalog, and you go to global catalog. We don't call it SKIS. The reason for that is because we get information not just from SKIS. You can get it from a whole bunch of other resources like Library of Congress, your Victorian State Library, or West Australian State Library, any Z3950 resource that you can subscribe to, and a lot of them are free. So just go to global catalog. And remember, I told you about setting up all your parameters. Now we assume it's all set up. So before you catalog, you can say, I've got 100 books to catalog. I'm going to do the fiction. So you'll go in here to the location, and you'll type in and see if you've got fiction, and you go, no, I haven't got fiction. So I just want to create a location of fiction. Okay, so remember, location on the fly. Yeah, that's location. Sublocation is seniors. Okay, seniors doesn't exist. That's okay. And the loan period is fortnightly, renewal period fortnightly, copy status is available, cost center, and the cost center is the library because it's coming out of the library budget. Okay, doesn't exist. Okay, and this book costs me $25, and the replacement cost by the time I add covering and labeling and all that, it's $30. And now I will go and I'll zap in my ISBN number, and I will zap in my barcode. And then if I've got 2 copies, I'll just zap in my ISBN number again, and I will zap in my barcode. And then if I've got 3rd copy, I can do exactly the same thing, ISBN number and my barcode. Now you don't have to look at this and wait for it, okay? Because if you zapped in an ISBN number that doesn't exist, this is the error message you get. And all you do is you just take that book out and put it into a pile that says not on SKIS yet. And you might come back to it in a day or 2, okay? Or you might want to manually catalog that. Now, if it's a totally different book, all those information the same, except the supplier is different or the cost is different. So this one's going to cost me $30 and the replacement cost is $45. And now you can go ahead and do the next book and the next book and the next book. And the beauty about this is if you put in your supplier and your costs over here, you don't have to do anything because everything is done for you. You can validate that by just clicking on the title. It'll open up that catalog record and it'll show you the book, take you to the barcode area. And okay, I just happen to have many copies of this book because I use it all the time as a demo. But normally you'll just have one barcode in there and that's it. Okay, and that's all there is to it. So you don't have to worry at all about ever going into the catalog record. That's how good SKIS is. If you don't put in the supply and don't put in the price, then you just go ISBN barcode, ISBN barcode, ISBN barcode. When you finish, you just click on print. And remember we set up the default spine label 12601. Then you just go and you print your spine label off. Peel that off, put on the spine, peel that off, put on the inside of the book. Peel that off, put on the spine, peel that off, put on the inside of the book. Peel that off, and you can change all this information later. But that's all there is to it. And when you exit out, that's the end of SKIS cataloging. Okay? Circulation. I've added patrons. I've added catalogs. If I want to circulate, menu, circulation, circulation, and I can go Smith. Oh, I've got many Smiths. Let's choose John Smith. So he's an expired or this is the expiry date, but I want to override that, and now I can go and check out a book to him. His information will come up over here, or I can just go S and it'll bring up all my S, and I can go, oh, okay, I've got John Smith, okay, and it'll bring that up. Or I can go Smith, okay. So you can go and circulate to anyone by putting their first name, surname. When you go and put in the barcode of a book, if there's any reason or issues with that book, it'll tell you, and you can go, oh, man, it's currently marked as on loan. Just go, okay, I'm checking it out. So it checks it out to this person, checked it in from the other person. The next book, okay, and again, all right. And if that's it, let me go and check out, oh, not Jock. I don't have Jock. It's Jack. Next patron, okay, he's got one overdue, and there's the overdue. Okay, now I can go and check out this book to him. It's lost, but I'll just check it out anyway, and it'll just continue because it's been found. And another book, and this one is on loan, so it's now checked in. So we've got 2 books. Now, if you call up Jack Scott, and it says, he comes to you and says, oh, I lost teacher's pet, or he says, I've returned it. So if he says he's returned it, you just click on that and you go claim return. And what that will do, it will turn it into an orange. So it'll allow him to now borrow another book, except every time you call him up, it's going to remind you with that orange or brown or yellow or whatever color you want to call that, that this book, he claimed he returned it. It's forever tied to him unless someone else checks in or checks out, or a stock take picks it up. Okay. If it's an overdue book, so let me just make it overdue by going back and clicking renew. Okay. If a book is overdue, it's always in red. So a loan is blue or white. It alternates blue, white, blue, white, blue, white. If it's overdue, it's red. And if it's a claim return, it's like that. If he said he lost Cat's Eye, just click lost and it just removes it, but it'll record it against Jack Scott and against that title. Okay. If you want to return books, just click on return and just start zapping in all the barcodes of the books. That's all there is to it. Okay. Go back into loans and the loans is ready to go. Now, if you say, look, Jack, I cannot loan you any more books because you got Teacher's Pet out on loan. No, I haven't. Yes, I have. Yes, you have. No, I haven't. Yes, I have. Instead of having an argument, why don't you say, Jack, would you like me to send your mother an email about this book? So please choose, or you can click here and you can go overdue items and then run the report. That's what that is. Run the report. And so this is the overdue report, and you can go print. But you can go, Jack, I'm going to send that to your mom. Okay, so you just go email, you put in the subject, go, Mrs. Jack's mother, could you please chase Jack to pick up this book and bring it to school? Specify to put Jack's mother's email address in there and just go send. And that's how you can send anything to anyone from the reports module. Okay, you got that email. You can send it by email. But of course, you can print it and just give it to him. The last thing we're going to do is overdues. Overdues, piece of cake. So you just click on the menu, go to reports and reports. And in reports, there's a whole bunch of reports, and all you do is you go overdues, overdues by classification, by homeroom, by, I'm just going to do classification. overdues by classification, and I go open, and I want the class grade of 12. So I want, and then I just go generate, and there's all my year 12 overdues. Okay, so Oliver, Mike Scott, Jack Smith, and you can send that to anyone by just going print. But if you want to send it to an overdue, to a homeroom teacher, click on email this overdue and send it to the overdue teacher's email address, put in a subject area and go send now. However, SmartSuite, so let's be smart about the overdue emails, overdue lists. Instead of printing them all out, walking across to the pigeonholes and then putting all this in their pigeonholes, why don't we do an overdue for the year 12s like I've just done, and go schedule this overdue, okay? And I want to make sure that starting on Monday at 5 o'clock in the morning, weekly, Jack, the overdue teacher for year 12, Jack, please chase these overdues for me, and go schedule. And now weekly on the Monday at 5 o'clock, which is when I set it, okay? When I go schedule, it'll go with that. Jack will automatically get the overdue, and you never have to ever do an overdue for year 12s again. And once you've done that, you can say, all right, in that case now, I'm going to go and I'm going to do a year 8 overdues. Okay, let's get rid of the 12. And then you'll go generate, then you'll go email, and you'll do the year 8 teacher, and the year 7 teacher, and the year 11 teacher. And that's it. Really, really simple, easy, fast, efficient, and that's why it's called SmartSuite. If you need help on anything, unlike our competitors, you can go to Mailbox and you can ask for help and get incredible responsive support by just go create a ticket, put the subject matter in there. I would like some one-on-one training on this particular topic, and click that paper plane. Or can you please send me a tech note on this, or can you send me a video on that? However, if you go down to support, you can contact support, you can go to search topics, you can training videos, join the FSI community. You'll be amazed at what's on the FSI communities and what we can do for you there. Have a look. You'll be surprised at the level of support, and nothing costs you extra. You don't have to pay for extra features and functions and modules and upgrades like our American friends or our Canadian friends or our New Zealand friends. Everything's included. Thank you very much for participating in this SmartSuite